Thank you very much. Hello everyone, I'm Jørgen. I'm a developer at Nexa, and I'm here to talk about NexScript versus EVM, a bit more about the practicalities in this one. First, I want to talk about the concept of first, second, and third generation blockchain. Bitcoin is the first generation, where you have like basic money and some limited scripting capabilities. In Ethereum, the second generation, we get smart contracts, and that allows us to have smart contracts for tokens. In third generation blockchains, from the Nexa point of view, we use the UTXO model to have smart contracts in the scripting language in UTXO, which allows for massive parallelism. And we use tokens natively instead of having a smart contract. So, Nexa native tokens versus Ethereum tokens. In Nexa, tokens are fundamental to the blockchain. You don't have to deploy a smart contract, and there is no risk of someone adding some funky code into the smart contract. You don't have to pay like $100,000 to $300,000 for someone to review your contract, because you know that the tokens are inherently secure in the blockchain. There is no room for scripting bugs, and of course, we want people to use Nexa tokens for the same stuff as people use Ethereum contracts or tokens for. Not many people are using tokens for security tokens, bonds, and stocks yet, but that is the end goal. Of course, you can have meme tokens, NFTs, fan tokens in Nexa native tokens. And transaction fees are paid in Nexa. So, what is NexScript? NexScript is a smart contract for Nexa. It's efficient and reliable, verifiable smart contracts. They are stateless and UTXO based, which means that the transactions can be verified independently and efficiently. The transactions or what happens in the smart contracts can be verified, and you can see the outcome of the smart contract interaction before you broadcast them to the blockchain. The NexScript smart contracts are private and isolated contracts. There's a strong abstraction in the NexScript scripting language. For example, if you're going to script on Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, you have to write low-level opcodes. In NexScript, there is a high-level abstraction over that compiles into these opcodes. So it's more practical for developers to develop on. And this allows developer to develop DeFi on Nexa, such as we have built on top of EVM. Nexa smart contracts use a different paradigm than EVM due to its UTXO architecture, but with NexScript, the same DeFi that we have on EVM and Solana and Ethereum is very much possible. So let's compare NexScript and EVM smart contracts. In Ethereum, EVM, the smart contracts are Turing Complete, which means that a contract can make any change that is authorized to make. This means that the user can there is a risk of blind signing, which means that the user gives permission for the contract to do something that the user did not intend the contract to do. With the Nexa and NexScript smart contracts, you know the outcome of the transaction you are signing and broadcasting before you broadcast it to the network. There is no risk of that in the future suddenly your money will be gone because you gave permission for the smart contract to do something. This also allows for massive parallelism and a very high scale. So let's look at some comparisons for NexScript versus EVM. The model for NexScript is UTXO layer 1. In the EVM model, Solana and Ethereum, it's account-based, often layer 1, layer 2, or layer 3, which adds extra layers of complexity for the whole smart contract. In NexScript, you have native tokens. The tokens are built in, like I talked about earlier. And the validation for what is happening inside of the smart contracts can be validated in the transaction before you broadcast it. In EVM, the bytecode is executed on the blockchain. So when you create a transaction on NexScript, you set the transaction fee based on how many bytes there are in the transaction. In Ethereum, you don't know exactly how much gas you have to pay because it's Turing Complete. NexScript is not Turing Complete, which allows for doing a lot of things. Like, do you need to have infinite loops to have a smart contract? Probably not. But you can still have very long loops in NexScript. It's just not, it cannot run forever in the same way, for good and bad. So let's compare NexScript, there's a typo, versus EVM Uniswap contract. On Nexa, as Andrew talked about, we can have the open outcry exchange model, which means that I can say like, okay, let's trade 1,000 Tether for 1 million Shiba Inu tokens. Then I can just send this piece of information in a chat, and then I lock in my 1,000 Tether. If someone has 1 million Shiba Inu tokens, they can complete the trade without the need for any contract at all. They just have to know that I have cried out like, hey, I have 1,000 Tether, do you have 1 million Shiba Inu? And then they can complete the transaction. In EVM, we have the innovation of liquidity provider token, a decentralized constant product market maker, which means that anyone is incentivized to add liquidity to, for example, Tether versus Shiba Inu, and they can receive a portion of the transaction fee. In Nexa, you don't have to use the liquidity provider token model to make trades, but if you want to, you can, to incentivize others to add liquidity to a token trading pair. And also the liquidity provider token on NexScript can use the open outcry exchange model to trade on top of that liquidity again. So let's look a little bit more at the practicalities of NexScript. In this user story, you're at the restaurant and you're very happy with the waiter. So what you do is that you give them a QR code with a paper tip in Nexa coin. And the way it works is that the waiter can scan the QR code and then they get the Nexa into their wallet. Well, are the waiter going to bother to do this? We don't know. So what we do is to add a reclaim function, or backup claim function, where you can say that if the waiter doesn't claim this tip within 2 weeks in the block time, then I, as the sender or the giver of the tip, can like backup claim or take back that amount of money after this block has been produced. And so if I'm the waiter claiming the tip, I just call the claim function and get the money from the contract. But if I'm the tipper, then I can look at the blockchain and be like, oh, they didn't claim their money. Let me take it back so it doesn't go away. So NexScript versus Ethereum Virtual Machine summarized. Having the tokens as a native part of the blockchain and not as a contract that has to be audited and can have bugs increases the usability and security of the blockchain. I didn't talk about this, but in Nexa there is no possibility of reordering the transaction. In Ethereum you can have miners reordering the transactions to manipulate the market and make money from, you know, if you change them the order of things, you can make money in the market. It's like black magic. There is no blind signing problem in Nexa. The token enforcement is intrinsic to the blockchain. You don't have to audit and trust the contract. There is no gas fee running crazy, and you can use the open outcry exchange model as well as the liquidity provider token Uniswap models that you can use on, that you already have and are familiar with on Ethereum Virtual Machine. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be Gilbert Dollar. Thank you so much. Once again, Jetzt sieht er in Nexa.